I am here attending from South Lyon, Michigan.
Markham,
I'm here in Novi.
Cavell,
Here in Ferndale.
Biz,
Here, Auburn Hills, Michigan.
Miller.
Here in Farmington, Michigan.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you. So if I asked you to stand, I don't have a flag. I don't know if anybody else does. All right, Pam has one. Pam, Gwen, stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
For which it
which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. I will tell you that when I get on these calls just lately, I want to give the thumbs up, you know, like with the cameras to start. Now we have the approval of the minutes. Approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which is
They weren't ready for the packet.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not on the agenda.
That's all right. So we will hold off on approval of the minutes. They weren't ready. We'll pick that up next time. And we need the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Charles, seconded by Commissioner Markham. On that one, we need is a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, thank you. Next, we'll have public comment. Is there anybody from the public?
Good morning. You currently have no public in the committee room A or the auditorium. There are no callers and there are no written submissions this morning.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We're gonna have to. Andrea's getting so good at saying that line. It's like people are gonna try to hire her out because she's so like consistent and perfect at it. So thank you. The next one we have communications. We have no communications unless anybody came in. Okay, and then now we have the consent agenda. We need to move and second. Moved by Commissioner Spiz, seconded by Commissioner Markham. Is there any questions on it? Hearing none. Excuse me. We will do voice vote on that.
Commissioner Wiper has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Commissioner Wiper.
And just for our new commissioners, maybe we can tell them what tri-party is, because you know that's it's actually unique to Oakland County.
Yeah.
So it's, and I don't know if they're familiar with it, but and these are just going through consent agenda, so we don't have any presenters, but just
I'm only familiar high level, so sure, why not?
So just for the sake of our newer commissioners, Oakland County is one of the only counties in Michigan that has a tri-party program where the Board of Commissioners actually puts in a pot of money to do matching with the locals and the county road commission. And so that's the tri. And so we help our local communities with an extra 1/3 matching, you know, depending on the numbers. And sometimes we do a lot of skilled. So that's where you'll see tri-party. So the Board of Commissioners puts in money that is an actual matching with the locals and then the county road commission to get projects done. So that's what this is.
Sounds kind of, I'm sorry. May I?
And I'd like to add to that. It's one event per year, per locality, per CVT, and they choose the job. We don't tell them what to do. They tell us we want to fix XYZ road. Here's how much it'll cost, and then we match. So it's all very local.
Yeah, and just to correct that, I don't think it's one project per year. They get a specific dollar amount assigned to them. So however they decide to use it, they can use it for that project or multiple small projects if they so choose.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Commissioner Charles, you had a question. I'm sorry.
More of a comment. I was going to say, it sounds familiar in the sense of Southfield popped in those 2 roundabouts on Evergreen to get matching fund dollars. Now, I'm not sure if it was tri-party, but it sounds familiar. Thank you, guys.
Okay. So I just want to add though, just for the new commissioners, so everybody's correct on here. There are times where, you know, I'll just use Novi because I know there was one at the end of last year. They asked, there was additional funding needed. So it came back to the board of commissioners. Am I correct, Commissioner Markham?
Yeah.
So we do let cities come back or CTVs come back if there's an additional, if it makes sense or, you know, what have you, just so you know. It's Commissioner Spiz.
Yeah, just to expand on that, tri-party is more for townships. We do have the bi-party program, which is more for villages and cities, because the villages and cities do get separate funding from the state of Michigan. So there are two separate programs. Tri-party is mostly townships.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cavell. I want to call you Charlie. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Chair Miller. So if there's a township in our district, how do we advocate for getting them some road money through this?
They have an assigned amount already, so they get assigned a dollar amount. They should be fully aware of what that amount is. Some
Yeah.
townships choose to not do a project one year, but take that money from the previous year and do it the second year, so they get a bigger project.
Cool.
So everybody is allocated a certain dollar amount based on how much we as a county allocate. And I think this year it's $2 million. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. That we
Correct.
allocated overall for all the townships in the county to be used for tri-party funding.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. You're welcome.
So I do have to stand corrected on the consent agenda. We have to do a roll call. Do we have to do it on each one because it goes to the board, or?
That's the beauty of the consent agenda. You can do it on one motion, and sometimes we have like 30 of these, right? So to save time.
For sure. So we do need a voice vote on that. Do we need to move and second it again, or a roll call? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we would need a roll call on it. We don't have a motion yet, so.
Okay.
I thought we moved it.
Yeah.
I apologize. You're right. I do have a motion, and so we just need a roll call. Sorry about
Can we
that.
call the roll, please? Thank you.
Commissioner Charles,
Yes.
Wypert,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Cavell,
Yes.
Biz,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you. So now we have the regular agenda. We have the Economic Development Restaurant Relief Program, interlocal agreement between Oakland County and public body. Need a motion? So moved by Commissioner Wiper. Seconded by Commissioner Charles. We have Brett here.
Hey, Chairman Miller, this is Sean Carlson. How are you?
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see you over there. All the screens keep moving as people turn their cammers on. Trying to catch everybody.
I'm just going to kick it off, and then I'll turn it over to Brett, who's running the lead on this. But just to give a little bit of background and just kind of take us back to December. Number one, I want to thank all the commissioners. We leaned in to this back in December. We knew all of our restaurants were getting impacted with the stay-at-home order in regards to restaurants that came out in November. In Oakland County, what we did is we took $7 million of the CARES Act and dedicated that to grants to restaurants that had received a previous grant, whether that was a stabilization grant, a recovery grant, or I think a restart grant. And the reason why we took those who had won previous grants is we did not have enough time from an evaluation perspective to open up a new grant program. And so what we wanted to do is move quickly. And so there were 771 small businesses, restaurants, not franchisees, but restaurants that received $7 million. So we have awarded 6.3 Of this 771 restaurants, 720 so far have redeemed their grant award, which was $8,300. We have received, hopefully you've received some communication as well. I will share that perhaps at a future committee. There have been a lot of folks that sent in some nice emails as well as letters in regards to that needed support. Some folks talking about sitting at their kitchen table, thinking about and preparing to shut down their operations. But because of your efforts, they're able to keep on going and last a couple of more months, and hopefully we can get through this pandemic.
Thank you all.
So I wanted to make sure that you knew what was going on from there. It was a $10 million resolution, if you recall. So $7 million from the CARES Act was going out to grants, and the other $3 million was going over to a program to help us with weatherization, igloos, and so forth, as well as contact tracing is one of the things that was in the resolution. Brett has been working with his team and all the CBTs to come up with a program. And if we had more time and we weren't pressed last year, we probably would have came with the resolution and a sample interlocal agreement at that point in time. So that's why we're in front of you today with the interlocal agreement. So I just wanted to kind of set the stage a little bit.
Thank you, Sean. Good morning, commissioners. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brett Razzing. I'm manager of the Planning and Local Business Development Division within the Economic Development Department. As Sean mentioned, this is part of the funding that was approved before the holidays. And this current grant program is focused on our CBTs and supporting our CBTs and their work with the local restaurants and bars. So it's a little bit different than the previous nearly $50 million that we've awarded directly to businesses. These awards go to the CBTs for their use and their distribution to the local restaurants and bars. I'd like to take a couple of minutes to go over the program in its entirety briefly. And I believe that Connie probably provided you with an application guide that covers in more detail some of the things I'll highlight today. And then also you had submitted some questions prior, and I provided answers to those questions, and I hope that helped. And I can expand on any of those answers if you would like as well. So the program, the CBT-based restaurant program, it has a fairly focused goal. It's to support our CBTs and the local restaurants and bars in expanding and offering outdoor dining opportunities. So this could be either open air dining or sheltered dining in some manner. And the other aspect of it is to provide them with the products and materials to safely reopen or to continue operating safely. So there's two components of it, the weatherization, which is the term for the outdoor dining, and then just the safe operation aspect of it as well. The program has two phases. The first phase we actually launched in December and closed in December. We had the desire to get these products out as quickly as possible to our local communities. We had a short application window. We had 37 CBTs apply, and we awarded 37 CBTs products. And we gave them outdoor propane heaters, propane refills, igloos or greenhouses, electrostatic disinfectant sprayers, and the solution that goes into those sprayers. And in that pre-holiday award to those 37 CBTs, we awarded about $585,000 worth of products. And as of last week, $317,000 of those products are out in the CBT's hands and in the street. So that's phase one. It opened and closed, but the interlocal agreement that you're looking at today will apply to that phase one retroactively, and it will also apply to our expanded phase two, which builds upon that first part of the program. So that's the phase one. Open, closed, 37 CBTs, almost $600,000 worth of products awarded. Now phase two we have an online application and that will launch today. I had hoped to launch it yesterday, but I hit a snag. So that'll go out by about 2:00 today to all of the eligible CBTs. And in that application, they can request more products that the county will buy and give to the CBTs, and they can provide those to businesses directly. And the CBTs can also request funding to reimburse themselves, reimburse businesses, reimburse their local DDA if they incurred expenses to support this effort. And they can also request funds to buy more products on their own. So it has those three components: products, funds for reimbursement, and funds for acquisition or purchasing products. So those are the components of phase two. They will, the CBTs will submit an online application, and we'll review those applications and make our recommendations to Mr. Carlson. And once we have those recommendations reviewed and approved, the CBT will receive a final copy of the interlocal agreement that'll show those product and cash awards that they'll be receiving. And that will be there for their signature. It will come back for Commissioner Woodward's signature. And then at that point, we'll be able to send them their first payment installment and also start shipping products that we'll be purchasing. That in a nutshell is the program. The interlocal agreement, like I mentioned, would cover the phase one, phase two, or both phases. We anticipate many communities will apply for both phases. So far in phase one, we're getting very positive feedback from the communities, and I think a really important aspect of it, especially during these times, is the partnerships that are being strengthened between the local governments, the DDAs and CIAs, and also the chambers. They're marshaling their resources, marshaling their knowledge of the local business community, and will really help us get these products and funding where it can do the most good. I'll leave it at that and be happy to answer questions about the interlocal agreement or any of the Q&A that I provided in advance. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Cavell, and then Commissioner Wiper.
Forgive me, Mr. Rassigan, but my computer was a little splotchy. But from what I read here, there's 53 communities that are eligible for this. And you said 37 took you up on phase one. Did I hear you right? Okay. So then a two-part question. One, what can we do to get the other 16 communities to take this up? And then part two is how can I or all of us as commissioners push this out to our local communities or DDAs and all that?
Good questions. We had a call last week about this with the CBTs, and we had over 80 people participate. So I suspect we're going to have good engagement. And I believe probably most of the 37 that applied for phase one will again apply for phase two. And those remaining, we've been in touch with those that did not apply for phase one. So I anticipate good participation. What you could do to help is just direct your communities to our county website where there's information about the grant. So that would give them information and it would provide them the application guide. Now, the link to the application won't be on the web because it's an application that's tailored specifically to each community. So they'll receive a unique link to their application. So they can't find the link there. But we have an email going out to all the eligible ones by 2 o'clock today that will send that link. And that will go to the CBT reps and also the DDAs, the corridor improvement authorities, TIFAs. There's a couple of TIFA organizations, and also the Birmingham PSD. So I just let them know, check the web.
Cool. And the CBT reps would be like city managers or economic development directors?
Yeah, correct. It depends on each one is a little bit different. In the townships, we target the supervisor. It's a little bit different. We have a tailored list that gets it to the correct people.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Wiper?
I thought Commissioner Spiz had his hand up very first. Was that, I don't want to cut in front of him.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Spiz.
I did, but my question was for Deputy Carlson about potentially sharing that list with all of us commissioners of the 720 communities out there that were part of the redistribution of additional funds, $8,300, so that we all understand which businesses in our communities all were affected by that. So, I believe, Sean, you indicated that you would share that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll share it with all the committee members here and the commissioners so that they know the businesses that received a restaurant relief grant in their communities.
Thank you. That was my only question.
So our turnaround, this is non-competitive, right? It's going to be everybody's eligible. Get their app in, and we're going to work with every community, right?
Yeah, we put a deadline of the 4th of February 4th for them to get their applications in, and being that I'm a day late getting it out, I was considering adding another day, but we're so engaged with them. I don't think there'll be a problem. We've been receiving a lot of email questions on the program, and I think it's a reasonable window for them to apply, being that we've been actively engaged with the communities.
Thank
you. We have Commissioner Cavell and Commissioner Charles.
I think Commissioner Charles was ahead of me.
Thank you. Robert's Rules would be very proud of you there, Charlie. I wanted to check with, first of all, Sean, I think your sandbox is my favorite of all of the sandboxes from yesterday, because, when you talk gross domestic product, you're just speaking my language. And I want to ask you or Brett, in terms of the CVTs, that designation of CVT accounts for all communities in Oakland County, or are there just certain ones?
No, that's all the cities, villages, and townships in Oakland County. I think we've just grown to use that term because it's easy to say. Yes,
no,
all municipalities.
I just wasn't sure if it was like communities who had current interlocal agreements on the books. So that's good to know. And that helps me frame my next question, which is simply, we're all commissioners of different districts. As much as we want to advocate for the county as a whole, we all have our little babies, which we call our district. And I just want to know, district-wise, is there in those the word you used was the eligibility.
Right.
Does that play into the decision making at all? If it's a smaller community, if it's a larger, per capita gross domestic product, that kind of thing, does that play a role at all?
If you're speaking to how much funding is available to each community.
No, more so on just whether or not they would be eligible. Like, are there?
They're all of the communities are eligible if they have a restaurant. So there were a handful that are not eligible, and I'm going to look at the program guide to make sure I get the right ones here.
That's great. And even if you wanted to, round back and follow up, because my next question was along those same lines. I think Commissioner Spiz talked about a list of 700 or something. I'm very visual, and so I also would like to see just the breakdown of how it rolled out per community, if that's possible, some kind of spreadsheet or something like that.
We'll certainly provide that and jump in here, Brett. So I think what's important to know about all the grants that we executed from an economic development, we tried to be very conscientious. Oakland County, 910 square miles. As I mentioned yesterday in the briefing, really the tip of the spear as it relates to the economic driver for the state of Michigan, 1/5 of the GDP. But when we broke out those grants, we wanted to make sure, as we were looking at small businesses, where are the small businesses located? How are we doing some allocation to make sure that it's fairly distributed based upon where the small businesses are. So each one of the grants, we've been very conscientious about that and how we are doing it. Also, what's important to recognize is one thing, because this grant was set up in December, and at the time that this was approved by the Board of Commissioners, we were under the belief, and there wasn't a lot of confidence in Washington, D.C., of extending the CARES Act beyond December 30th. So it was our belief that the $219 million was going to be gone. Plus, we had restaurants that were facing bankruptcy and closing down. So we moved out fairly quickly to get these checks out. So we used $7 million in CARES Act. This $3 million was used from a fund balance perspective to set these programs up and work with the CBTs. One of the things that we stated at that time was there are some businesses that we weren't able to get to because we didn't open up a grant that might be a need. We wrote in the applications, and Brett can speak to this more, but it is our recommendation to each of the cities, villages, and townships that receive money that they look at who has been awarded a grant and who did not get a restaurant relief grant. And hopefully that they are supporting those restaurants that did not receive an $8,300 check. That is a recommendation. We're not sure what's going on in their backyard. So we're going to leave that up for local control from that perspective. I don't know if you want to add anything else, Brett.
Nope, that covers it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, for the second time, Commissioner Cavell.
Thank you, Chair. And again, you might have already said this, Brett, but the grants were $8,300 per restaurant last time around. What could they be expected to be this time around?
Well, this time in the interlocal agreement, we are recommending to the communities that they not provide a single reimbursement grant greater than $10,000 to one business. So again, this is a little bit different. The funding goes to the local government and then they administer funding how they see fit. So they can reimburse, for example, if a community purchased one of the igloos or greenhouses or propane heaters, back in September and October anticipating this, they can get reimbursed for those costs. The business can. So it's a little bit different animal. It's not a fixed fee. It's empowering the community to direct those funds where they're most needed.
Understood. Thank you. And then this round is not $7 million. It's $3 million, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And then when will restaurants be able to apply to their CVT to get this money?
Some of them are already gathering that information up. So the ones that are being proactive are collecting that information, polling their local restaurants on what they purchased. So it's a timing factor, and as soon as they get those applications in on the 4th, we'll get those through those awards, get the interlocal assigned, and then the money goes out. So as fast as we can get through that, we're going to get the money in the CVT's hands.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, one thing I want to follow up. This program and is really a good example of good government. Why I want to say that is Brett and his team working with the CVTs. There are some people who asked, well, why don't you just open it up and let the businesses apply to you as the county? Well, there's several reasons for that. Some townships might have certain zoning requirements that we're not uniquely aware of. And it's better for us to partner with the different cities, villages, and townships and play in that role. And so this program is a good example of good government, of the Board of Commissioners and the county leaning into a problem and then working with our local communities to make sure the funds get to where they needed most. So
we were very concerned with, for example, if we would have provided a restaurant with an igloo or a greenhouse and come to find out after the fact that the local fire marshal does not allow that product to be used, here we would have been given that out and would be for a waste. So all of this, there's so many code, ADA, fire marshal requirements. It has to go through the CBT.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion? I think we got it covered. I appreciate all the questions. Call the roll, please.
Chairman, hold on. There is one thing that I would like to point out in the resolution. Sorry about that. So within the resolution, after the now therefore, or actually if we read the now therefore, it says that the Board of Commissioners hereby approves the Restaurant Relief Program interlocal agreement. Some of the boilerplate language that we've included in other resolutions is to have the board approve or authorize the chairman to sign the interlocal agreements so that the efficiency of the product can flow through the board's approval process without having to come back to the board. So if you guys wish to do that, we could insert a be it further resolved. And I think Connie has some of the boilerplate language to that, if you so wish to do it.
Commissioner Wiper.
I'll make a motion to amend the resolution so that the board chair can execute the interlocal agreements without an additional meeting.
So there's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Wiper to have the board chair to approve the grants as they come in, so to make the process a little more speedy, and it's seconded by Commissioner Markham. So I guess we take a roll call on that, please. I'm sorry. Sorry, question. Commissioner Charles.
Yeah. I just need that motion to be more specific, because right now it feels like we're letting the chair sign any interlocal agreement. I really want it to be focused on this particular one.
Yeah, so let me see. I don't know, Connie, do you have that where you can show it on the screen? If the chair, do you wish to have that posted or shared with the?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I'll tell you, Mike, why she's doing that. When you came in, it was like, I thought it was like the Wizard of Oz, like the man behind the screen. I was like, where's this guy? Where's his voice coming from?
So what I'll do is I can voice it right now. And then as Connie works to get that up, we'll see it afterwards. So it would state, you would probably insert it after the now therefore be it resolved in the resolution. And it would state, be it further resolved that the Oakland County Board of Commissioners authorizes the chairperson of the board to execute the required interlocal agreement on behalf of Oakland County upon final review and approval by Corporation Council. That seems to be some boilerplate. That seems to be some boilerplate language that we've included. So.
Okay.
Commissioner Wiper approved that was his motion. And it was seconded by Commissioner Markham. Is there any other discussion on that?
No.
Commissioner Cavell.
Just real quick, Brett and Sean, do you guys like that? I mean, you're the ones that are going to be doing the work, right?
That's typical for interlocal agreements. So that's a standard procedure. So we would expect that. So thank you for catching that, Mr. Andrews.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
On the amendment, Commissioners Markham,
Yes.
Cavell,
Yes.
Biz,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Wipert,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. So that's all our agenda items we have. So at this time we have.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. We need to
Yes.
take a roll call on the resolution as amended.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm jumping ahead. So thank you for catching that. So we need it moved and supported for the motion as amended, or everything amended, right?
We already have the initial motion on the floor was for the resolution, so we already have that. We just need a roll call now.
Okay. Make it easier. Call the roll, please.
Okay. Commissioners Wipert,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Cavell,
Yes.
Biz,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So at this time, there's no more agenda items. Is there any old business or new business? Because we really don't have any old business, I would say. Well, I guess the old business, one thing to bring up is I never heard back from the health department to give an update like Commissioner Wiper asked for. So I'll try to reach out again. I sent an email and I didn't hear back. So we'll try that again for next meeting. And I don't know if there's any other business or to talk about. And I am in the process of setting up the tours too, when we're able to, right? I mean, that's got to look at space, distance, how many people want to go. So it may be a few tours, not everybody at once. So anything else? I'm hearing nothing. If not, I would call the meeting close at 10:10. Thank you, everybody.